a goal, Quishbilly Huddersfield Town! The most famous goal of Quishbilly's life.
Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is. Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield Town.
Thank you.
And Steve Simonson's boots now. He's missed. Steve Simonson clears the frame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears. Huddersfield Town are promoted.
Mustafa Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
Hello and welcome to the Andy Takes That Chance podcast. This weekend, Town hi-hoed it down to Barnsley, and despite a dopey start, the Town fans went from grumpy to happy in just 3 minutes. Josh Koroma may be a little bashful after his miss, but he ended up being the hero as the Huntsman came off the bench to turn the game. More injuries came Town's way, though, which required the dock. They, as much as cough or sneezy these days, and injuries seem to occur. But the half-time enchanted apple seemed to do the trick, and everything was all white at full time. And we all lived happily ever after. I thank you, boys. I know I should leave the Disney stuff to Wrexham, but I've got 3 characters on the pod this week. We've got Cozzy Bear, Ian Killer Kilroy, and a welcome return to Phil Senor Senior. How are we doing, boys?
Evening.
Evening, guys.
Oh, I've gone full Disney, full Snow White there. I don't know if you'll remember. Cozzy, you might, because you're old. But do you remember when Town lost 7-1 to Barnsley on Sky?
Yeah,
and then and then they came back to our place in the home game. I think it was 0-0, and Wayne Allison missed a sitter, I think. And it was 0-0, and they came, and there was like a guy dressed as Snow White in the south stand, and 7 of them, and 7 dwarfs behind them. They were like running around the stand, taking the piss because the beat us 7-1. Brilliant. Football banter was much better back in the 90s, wasn't it?
I can't remember that still why, man, but every time Barnsley Huddersfield pop up, it doesn't matter that them playoff games and whatever, that they always went at 7-1 because that Barnard. And the worst thing about that night, I had to have a night out around Barnsley with my Barnsley mates, and I had to wait till the end, but I stayed in the ground because we had that minging cream coloured away shirt, third shirt with massive pony badge, like huge. And
I like that.
Oh, yeah. Not wrong.
You don't like it?
It brings back memories, Phil. I remember watching you at Barnsley, mate.
That save. Everyone remembers that save with Phil onto the post. If anyone's got that on film, by the way, Phil's desperate to see that again, aren't you, and show the kids.
But it just reminded me of Saturday, though, really, because that home end, the away end was just full. It was jam-packed. So it was great to see it. So, yeah, they were good memories. Second game,
Good times. Let's fast forward to yesterday, then, because we're recording on Sunday night. So, the warm-up. Let's start with the warm-up. I mean, when you get a big crowd like that, you get a mix of characters, don't you, in the away end? But I think it seemed like Freddie was getting some more stick, wasn't he? I got quite a few tweets and messages saying it was quite bad in the bottom corner, and Freddie was arguing with some of the fans. I mean, it's not on, Cozzy, is it? He's a Town player, isn't he? And you want the best for him, and you don't really want to be, I suppose, denting his confidence. I suppose it's not funny, really, is it?
What a weird atmosphere at times yesterday. Phil might agree, but there was some weird stuff going on. It were almost like people had given up the season. A lot of people I knew personally, but kind of the vibe around was like, we're not going to get second. We're not even going to get playoffs. Chance about Bradford away, LA, and you can say gallows humour, Matt, but I don't. For me, it more feels like people just chucking the towel in over anything. And the first half, we'll come on to, but it's like there were a lot of hissy fits on. Yeah, don't get me wrong, it wasn't brilliant by any stretch, but there was so many hissy fits. It was unbelievable. It was almost like we were 15th and like just lost 12 in a row or something like that as well. But I kind of half expected it, Matt. I never am a big. Don't get me wrong, it makes for good away days. Facebook, look at Huddersfield at Barnsley and all that lot, and it looked great, full. But I'm never a massive fan when you've got loads of people like that in a local game, because I just think the dynamic, certainly the atmosphere is. I don't think people say, oh, it's going to be electric, but it isn't, because you've got pockets of people singing their own stuff. It was really hard to kind of get one joined up chant. But I think, as we saw like with Leeds last year and that as well, I think sometimes it's people are coming and expecting the worst. Which I think they did yesterday. I know it was a different thing with Leeds, but because they're a good side. But
I mean,
yeah,
they were 100 times better than us.
Yeah, and a lot of people I spoke to were kind of more there for the day out. Not that probably not much different, to be fair. So they dragged themselves to the game. But yeah, I mean, having got their own players is really disappointing, mate. But I'm afraid people made their mind up on the Dapple. But I don't know. I don't know if I see it with any other clubs, Matt. But I suppose we don't support anyone else, so maybe they might.
I'm sure it goes on all over, doesn't it? But it's just a bit weird, isn't it? Just like, I know it's not everyone; it's a small pocket, isn't it? And I wasn't there. I stuck to my word. I binned it off because I'm a shit fan, and you can tell me that in the comments. But it's just so I haven't seen it, so I can't. I'm just going from what people messaged me. There was someone that I know was quite close to it, and he just said it's like. It's the usuals, kind of just a small pocket, just having a go at him, and Freddie's arguing with him, and Callum Marshall's had to drag him away and stuff. And you just think it's just not. I know football, you go and have fun, but I don't think sort of. Would you class it as bullying, Phil? Technically, it's just a weird way to sort of. I don't know. Everybody's different. I just find it a weird way to spend your Saturday, to be honest.
I think it's horrendous. I think I mean, I didn't hear it. I must understand. I think and. Walking out to the game, but you mentioned confidence. Why is he going to want to play for this club when he knows that the fans are going to get on his back and they don't value him being here? And he hasn't scored the goals and he hasn't performed amazing all the time, but he has had to come on here and there and try and pick up pieces. And the team's been struggling at the same time. So I don't think it's fair at all. And I've kind of like gone full circle now because I created with him, but now. It's more of a want. I want to see him score that first goal. I can't wait. Do you know what I mean? I think it's going to be, it's going to be great, and it'll be great for his confidence. And whether I take him after that, I don't know. But you certainly shouldn't have to walk out onto the field for your warm up to have your own fans having a go at you. And that's whether whatever their feelings are towards you or the team, that should never happen for me for a club. And like I say, whether it does happen at other clubs, I'd like to probably think not. To be honest, to the extent of people going down and airing the views in a warm up. I mean, the game hasn't even started. Fair play if he's missed an open goal or whatever, and you've lost your head a little bit. I can kind of get that, but when the game hasn't even started, because he hit nail on the head, we've just got such a different dynamic of fans at the moment. Which there's some real negative fans and there's some, really positive fans as well. So it's
belters, yeah. I mean, it goes both ways. You don't want to be.
Yeah.
Digging the fans out straight away. Like I say, it's a small section out of 4,500, and it's just a small. But I mean, they're like what did Dean Hall used to call them? Vocal minority, didn't he?
Yeah.
But it's just a strange way to do it. I know people are probably drunk and just going way and having a laugh, but it has their own effect.
It feels really, as a player, it feels really personal, and especially that if it's a bigger chorus and. Sometimes it's probably not as bad, but when it's individuals and it's like it was there before the game, that's pretty personal. That so it definitely wouldn't have helped his confidence, and we want people to be confident to play for our team. So it's totally the wrong approach, isn't it?
But I mean, the start from Town as well. We've talked about this a lot, haven't we? Killer Town are quite sloppy at the start of pretty much every game at the minute. I mean, Reading was reverse, wasn't it? They started quite well and then faded out. But again, it was quite a sleepy start, wasn't it? And then 30 minutes in, Marshall and Kasumu kind of getting each other's way a little bit. They both go for the same ball. And John Russell picks the ball up, and it's almost like a Chariots of Fire slow motion run, isn't it? With like sort of like working his way through, and you can just hear Kite in the background, do 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 do, as it's kind of going through, and it's really bad from our point of view. I mean, the Barnsley fans will probably think it's a great run, won't they? But I watched it and I just think Balker should do better. Herbie Kane should probably do better. And then it deflects, and could Lee Nichols maybe do better? I mean, Lee Nichols is a bit sort of rusty at the minute, hasn't he? He's just one game in, isn't he? So I'm not going to go too hard on Lee Nichols. But it just wasn't a great goal, was it, to give away a kill after 30 minutes?
I don't understand how you can run the ball 70 yards as easy as John Russell did. He's not known for his dribbling ability. Honestly, Matt, I just don't understand, of all the players on a pitch who can do that, it's Johnny Russell we let do it. There's so many issues with the goal and the start from the off. And like you say, Matt, the Reading game, we were better at the start, but generally we start slow. And I've been trying to look into why that happens. And now yesterday, 5 minutes in, there was another issue where they nearly, I don't know who it was it Keeler Dunn? He cuts him on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
Bennett shows him inside. Leeds don't get there quick enough. Balker does just enough to get something on it. But I think our defence, for some reason, when we start, they just drop so deep. They start so slow and so deep, and they don't want to break rank. If anyone runs at our back 4 or back 5, whatever we're playing, in the first half, it just tends to be that we don't want to adjust and go and meet them, and we just back off. And that's what happened yesterday, twice in 15 minutes. Obviously, the Russell one ends up being a goal, but like you say, there's so many issues there. Kane's got to read that we're in trouble at that point. He don't run back fast enough. I know he had a 10 or 15 yard head start. Okay, he's a little bit wider and it's more ground to run to catch Russell up, but he doesn't put it in to get back. Bolker, I ain't got an absolute clue what he's doing there. Why is it? You can argue should Sorensen go out and meet it as well? But it's a 6-on-5 Barnsley start that attack with it turning over in play when Kasuma and Marshall make their miscommunication, whatever you want to call it as. But Johnny Russell's not going to have an easier goal all season to say he's right in 70 yard. I'm with Phil. We were speaking about this before we recorded, in that I'm not entirely sure how well Tom Lee's mask works, because for me, he should have been blocking that. That shot for me should have been blocked, but he just kind of doesn't commit, just kind of stands still, and it takes a little deflection off him. And should Nichols do better? Again, that's down to Phil to sort out. But these slow starts, Matt, we spoke about it in the ground once, where when Helic plays, we're so much higher at the back and we engage further upfield. But yesterday, it was just like we didn't do it again. And we were just like, right, you run at us, yeah, we'll just drop and try and create something. And they did time and time again in that first half. And that first goal, though, Matt, I'll never forget how bad that was, unfortunately.
Phil, did you put anything on Lee Nichols there? I thought it was just one of those where it deflects and he's maybe a little bit unsighted. I wouldn't point too many fingers, especially considering it's one game. He's played once in, well, that's twice now, isn't it? In whatever 3-4 months. It's just one of those things, I think.
I think initially it's got to be dealt with, hasn't it? So further on the field, that's where you look. So keepers union, we'll always talk about what those defenders don't do, and you're right, Killer. What you say, like you know, you'd expect them to step up at least another 5 yards, and they're narrow and force them wide. You know, that's the basics of football. But I think he'll probably reflect on that, Nichols, and I do think, because I mean, I was stood right behind it, and I do think he'll probably reflect and think that he probably could have done a little bit better with that. And like you say, you talk about only 2 games in, but you know, as a keeper, that's, well, from my experience, you've got to stay fresh. You've got to be ready. You know, he's having plenty of shots in training, so I don't think but he just looked a little bit flat-footed for me. That's all. And that deflection, the ball was going that way anyway, so it wasn't it's going that way, I've got to readjust and come back this way. He actually just carried it on, just maybe another foot to the left. So I think he'll probably reflect on that. I think he better, but it would a shocking goal. And to be fair, the start was shocking as well. And that first half just summed up where we were at the moment. We've got 2 lads up front, and we're trying to launch high balls up to them, and they were picking, you know, with simple headers from the centre halves and to the midfielders who had loads of space to receive and turn and play. So there's some fundamentals wrong really at the moment, and I'm sure Duff and his team are working on it and trying to find solutions, but it just doesn't. It didn't in the first half, and probably even the second half as well. To be honest, it doesn't look like it's flowing. And you know, again, we're talking about styles of play and how we want to play, and I still can't tell you how we want to play and how we're going to be effective going forwards.
It's interesting. I know Cosy quite enjoyed John Russell's celebration because he left a little bit acrimoniously, didn't he? He was a good part of that Carlos Corberan team, and then he played a little bit under Danny Schofield, and he was horrendous, wasn't he? And he played, he sort of fell really out of favour with Mark Fotheringham. There was the video going around of him in the B team, just not tracking back and just basically stood in the middle for 50, 60 minutes. And then he's kind of like, he's done the non-celebration thing. Like, I don't know how to feel about these things. Sometimes I'd much prefer them to, like Naki Wells did last year, just to kind of go, fucking get in, you know, rather than do that.
He did, Matt, but one thing that you did see that I saw, he shush. So someone must have abused him. No, he did that. He did a shush because I saw him do that, but then turn around to like walk back, and someone must have like fuck off Russell or something. Where's that?
Did he bottle it?
And he turned around and he did a shush because I was surprised because obviously you watching it. I want kind of says, I was just put his hands up. Pozza was saying and that as well, but he did a shush. But you know what, mate? It's I just couldn't believe how thin he is. I could not believe it. He looked a different.
You've mentioned this about 15 times since Saturday. It's like
I was stunned how thin he was and that as well. I don't know if it's because of a weird number that he was wearing or whatever, but just I didn't even know if he were playing because I just looked down there and I was thinking, is he on the pitch? But You know what? I text on another group. I says, prepare for a Russell masterclass, and lo and behold, he does that. But it's yeah, and you know what? I think sometimes, and again, Phil, better to place to comment than me, being an ex-player. But you know what? If it's like that Birmingham goal and it's an absolute thunder, and it's like you kind of okay, so be it. But when it kind of goes in like that, when loads of people haven't done the jobs, then it's almost like Nichols is like slow and it just deflates the dynamic of the away end, the team, and it were horrible. And then all of a sudden the switch is flicked from some nice chanting to people getting on people's backs and people rushing down at after 30 minutes for some beers and everything as well. And the whole dynamics change. And you know what? All I was thinking, kind of walking to the game, was thinking this is such a big game for Michael Duff. And I was saying to a few Barnsley fans, like, honestly, they were like, think I were crackers. But like, I was saying, look, if this don't go right, if we lose 3-0 here, then I just wonder, I don't want to say the words, but I wonder what would happen. And to get that kind of start, we had that warning sign when it come off Nichols' knees, it was a good save early on. But yeah, absolute deflation. And yeah, what can you say, John Russell? You just can't make it up. And so there, to obviously we ended up winning the game. No spoilers there, but like from that moment to where we ended up, it looked a long way off, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, Town weren't good, were they, in the first half, which was a little bit frustrating. I think everyone felt that frustration, whether you were in the ground, whether you're watching at home, whether you were listening to Oggy and Matt on the radio, etc. I think everyone just felt that the recent performances haven't been great, and therefore when Town do start poorly, I think people do get a bit frustrated because you kind of think there's another poor performance incoming. But there was a bit of a shining light in that first half, and that was Tuanda Chirera, or Chirua, apparently, as it's now. I'm going to go with Oggy's pronunciation of Tuanda Chirua. He was a shining light in that first half. I've liked him so far in the 2 games. I know it's only 2 games. You shouldn't get too carried away after 2 games. I know he's not quite fully fit yet, but I quite like his positivity and how he looks to beat a man and get the ball in. He had a couple of shots as well. One of them was a really good instep curler to the far side, which went wide. The other one on his left foot, maybe he could have got on target. But he's been really positive, especially when you change formation like this as well. You need people in a 4-3-3 who can commit defenders one-on-one and attract defenders to create space. And he's doing that at the minute. I think he's certainly one who we can have a look at and be quite pleased with how he's doing. And I know Mark Cartwright's under a little bit of fire, to put it mildly at the minute. But I think this, on the face of it, after 2 games, looks quite a cute little signing killer, because he's not done well at Derby. I know we've gone to Wolves 3 times now for a player with our hands out, haven't we? Like Oliver Twist, but he's done well, hasn't he? He's done well. I think there's a lot to like, and like I said last week, his personality just seems like one of the good guys as well. I quite like what I see. I'm really rooting for him to do well, Killer.
I love him. I absolutely love him, and I think this is a really important learning point for Town fans who generally dislike players that play like him. And players that I mean like that is like Van La Parra, Sorba Thomas at times. People that can give you something that nobody else can. Up until this point, apart from Corona, everyone plays the same kind of way. Proper footballers, they don't give the ball away. They don't take those kind of risks. They play the safe passes. And when you've got 11 guys doing that, no matter if your 11 guys are better than the other team's 11 guys man on man, it just doesn't work, because I think it's too easy to defend against, right? But already you can just see, Matt, that first half we were terrible. We had 2 chances. He's had his flash shot on the right hand when he's cut back in, like you say, Matt. But the best part of it for me was Spenner was going on the left-hand side for the overlap. And now every other player in this team, up at Barcaroma at this point, would have played the overlap for the cross to come back to Charles, who wouldn't have been there anyway, or Marshall wouldn't have been there anyway. But Terriers just got that I'm going to go towards goal. Hungbo had it. Bergzorg had it. There's just a direct, okay, they're going to lose the ball more than other people do. And over time, I think Town fans will get frustrated at that. But it's refreshing to see it after we've had such a long spell, I think, where nobody really offered that for us. And to me, Matt, that's the game. We end up winning this game again. No spoilers, as Cosby's mentioned. But because we had two guys that offered that, and it made it unpredictable for Barnsley, and Barnsley weren't able to sit and just know how Town were going to play. It wasn't just pressure building up. It was different styles of football. And it's just nice that we've got those options available to us now. And like you say, Matt, apparently Derby thought it was awful. But because we have absolutely nobody else that can play that way, it makes him look like a superstar on day one. And I really think you can't underestimate the importance of having weapons like that in a team. That's what we need. And he's the guy. And if it is Cartwright's, if it's his call to bring him in, then fair play. Because I honestly think between now and the end of the season, having him available again, depending on injuries, no, he knows. It changes the output for us, because there's games where we won't be better, but if you can counter attack like we could yesterday for the first time in forever long, we've got chances to win games that probably wouldn't have done up until now this season. I honestly think he's great, and I didn't expect him. Looking at his highlights before, when you saw a 5-yard pass to the left and then he ran back and received it, and that was it. That was his highlight package from Derby. I'm thinking, oh well, we're not. It's just a numbers sign, and a bit like when Freddie came in last minute. He's not like that at all. And yesterday was really positive to see him play that way, especially when we weren't performing great in that first half.
Because he's going to chime in, I think he keeps unmuting and muting himself.
Yeah. Oh.
He's having a stinker here. We'll have to keep this in, Cozzy. Shall I unmute you, Cozzy? Let me do it. Can't unmute your guest because they chose to mute themselves. He's having a stinker. Phil, let's go to you while Cozzy sorts his technical issues out.
Jury's out for me. Jury's out. I like.
Fair enough.
He's a young lad. You can see technically he's good. He's strong. Flair player, but I want to see the dirty side first and foremost. I just feel like he's just a little bit. I might be wrong, but I just feel like he's a little bit lazy. I hope it proves. But there's just something I'm not sure yet. But I do agree, it's something that we need. That kind of player is what we need. But I just want to, and this is how I can't be able to speak to about it now. But this is why players like him need to come to clubs like ours, because they've got to learn that part of the game. And I just feel like he's got to be a little bit more responsible out of possession, and maybe work that a little bit harder. But yeah, I think he looks a talent, and he does seem like a nice kid, doesn't he? That's one of the
it does.
Things, you know what I mean? That when you bring players in at this stage of the season, that's really what you want. You want someone who's going to come into the team and gel. So, but yeah, the jury's out for me at the moment. But I just think maybe just that, a little bit more work rate. I might be wrong. I didn't see loads of him on Saturday, to be fair, because I was one of those fans that went under stand for a good 20-30 minutes. So
on the booze. Go on, Cozzy. Mute your TV while you're there as well.
Yeah, it's muted, Matt. I might have to reboot and go back on. It's a bit weird, this. But Pozzo had the same view as you, Phil, to be fair. But there were a few. I mean, I'm easily pleased. But the thing that I liked, Phil, he just looked like a guy who was just like enjoying playing football. I think sometimes we're very serious. With systems, where look where we are in the league. And you could tell, obviously, just come in, obviously, after a bad time at Derby, and just being really positive. We don't have enough people who can beat men, 100%. And obviously, we see Karoma doing it. And I don't say he's the fastest, but he still beats. He can glide past people. But this guy were amazing. Like for me, he were a threat, and he would enjoy what we're doing. And a lot of people were getting mad at these short corners, but I thought he were good because like we were passing it to him, and now we're thinking he can beat a man easy, and he were doing it quite a bit. All right, kind of passing it just back to the edge of the box, and it came to nothing. A lot of people again were getting mad about it, but I just thought that was an extra kind of maybe thing that we can maybe use going forward. But and another thing at half time, Phil, I don't know if you saw it, but I was there. Everyone else were getting booed and abused coming off, and he came back, and he were like, and the crowd gave him a real cheer and like a hand and that as well. And he were kind of crowd waving, to the crowd. Come on, we can still do it. Where everyone else were probably getting pelters. So yeah, he were nice, mate. But it doesn't take much because we're starved. Somebody, when I tweeted the video of the goal, someone put, "Look at this. Just shows how starved we are." I think that's a good word because we have been starved of just excitement of people just doing simple things like running and beating a man and making a guy look a mug and being a threat and stuff. And it's been a lot of years since we've had that. Like you say, going back to
mugging people off. Yeah, that's a good way.
Yeah, it's just like we don't seem to have many of them kind of players. And like Killer says, it won't take much probably for this to change. Will it all of a sudden, a few more games in, we're at home to, I don't know, Stevenage or we played them, haven't we? But I don't know, Crawley or someone, and people getting on his back. But it's from limited expectations, and a guy, let's be fair, that we didn't think we'd sign. It's good, but it's interesting. You and Phil, Phil, you and Pos would have that view and that as well, where I'm kind of all in as well. But what I know is that when he gets the ball, I'm going to be excited, and that's a word, excited, that we just don't associate with Town this season and for a while. So fingers crossed he stays fit, because that were the worry. And I think at the end, I think they said he were cramped, didn't we, Matt? But of course, everyone's like,
Derby fans did, yeah.
Derby fans, oh my God. So
I think sometimes when they come in with that low bar, though, Cosy, you know, when that low expectation level, and if they get over that, I think Town fans tend to grow quite fond of them quite quickly. Like Jacob Chapman, you know, the third choice keeper earlier this season came in, and everyone thought, "Oh God, the third choice keeper's coming," and he did all right. So I think Town fans kind of really warmed to him as well because the bar was probably quite low, but
everyone's got
or the expectation level was low. Sorry, not the bar.
All these players have got a club out there for them, and maybe this is his club. Do you know what I mean? And Killer's right in what he's saying. You know, it's me and Posy have looked in terms of like work rate and stuff, but actually, maybe what we need now is that flair player that's going to do something a little bit different and unlock defences. Because there's not much else going on, is he, in terms of style of play? So maybe that is what we need.
I think that's the plan B, Phil. Sorry, do you know, like we keep saying we need a plan B? It's not necessarily a formation change.
No.
It's just guys that you can throw on, and he's gonna piss people off. He is. There's no way we can pretend people are gonna say, "Oh, he's the best player we've got." No, he's gonna really annoy people throughout the season because he'll give the ball away easily. But I think you can afford two players like that in a 4-3-3. Your centre forward's got to be a bit of a beefcake, which unfortunately we don't have. Don't know how we're going to sort that out. But your two wingers, they can be those guys that take those extra risks. He's one of those guys for me, and Karoma hopefully on the other side long term if they both stay fit and we can get that working. But he's going to frustrate people. He's not the finished article. But like you say, Phil, if he was, he wouldn't be with us because wingers like that you just don't get in our league. You get guys that come in and out of the game. The way they play is ignorant to their own abilities and other people's abilities because they think they're better than everybody else. Because you have to have that belief to beat the man every time. It was just really nice to see wing-backs of Barnsley struggle for a change against our wingers because that's been the opposite all season. It was quite interesting to me seeing Barnsley play the way we've played more or less up until now in so many games where they were okay controlling the game, but then a quick out ball over the wing-backs' heads, he was away. And that's what we suffered with for so long. It's just nice that we have guys now that can attack quick because we didn't have any up until this point.
And that chance we had at the start of the second half, Matt, exactly the same again. Brilliant bit of work, cut inside there 7, and to be honest, keeper to be fair got there and that as well, but it was a bit of a scramble. I thought maybe we're getting in, but again he just continued that in the second half. But it was just something we've never seen before. But I can kind of see.
If I said to you though, Cosy, think back to when Lee Clark's team, and who were the two players that excited you the most in Lee Clark's team? And it's going to be Gary Roberts and Pilkington, isn't it? They're the ones that you like paying the money to watch, aren't you? And to be fair, you don't get that in a 3-5-2, do you? 3-4-3 maybe, but 3-5-2, you don't get that. It's more system. It's more sort of compact and
it's clear that I keep on Damien Duff. He's a good manager in Ireland, by the way, in the Irish League. But Michael Duff, he's cleared. Obviously, he's not a mug, mate, and he obviously brought him in. But to me, I thought it'd be one of those, be on the bench for a few games, etc. Let's not, risk him or whatever. But he must have liked what he's seen in training, mate, and just slug him in. And it's over someone like Karoma or someone like that. It's a big call, that, mate. And so far, there's some
Killer was fuming. Killer was fuming at first.
Yeah,
unfortunately, he went off with a hamstring niggle in the second half and became player number 28 to have to miss minutes through injury this season. So he might be doubtful for Tuesday, but we'll talk about Shrewsbury a little bit.
Sure.
Going from one excelling to one struggling, Phil, what have you made of Dion Charles? Because that at the end of the first half where he miscontrolled it wasn't good. He's struggled to do anything really positive, hasn't he, for us so far? And Michael Duff, I think, said he's trying too hard, which you can kind of understand. Maybe he just needs to chill out a bit, but he's having a tough time of it, isn't he?
Strikers really, well, I'm a goalkeeper, so strikers annoy me. They're a pain in the ass. We've said it before, simple things like if the ball's at a full back, get yourself across. Stop being lazy. I like him. He's my kind of striker. I know obviously he's not scored a goal yet, etc. But I can see a way that you could utilise him. I think running the channels, getting in behind defenders is a menace. He grafts, he works hard, and I do probably think he's trying a little bit too hard, and it's not coming off for him. But we go back to it again. We keep saying it. The service he's getting isn't great, so he's having to work even harder, and he's literally running side to side of the pitch, trying to close people down. So I do think there's something there with him. But like you say, at the moment, it's just not working, and he keeps getting these chances and into good areas, and it's just not quite coming off. So I think it's one where we have to be patient with him. When when they both played Blackpool away, they looked fantastic, and I was really excited by it. You know, the two top, they just bounced off each other, and it really energetic, and it looked really good. So I'm hoping there's good things to come for him, but I think it's just a matter of just sticking with him, and then strikers are once they get that confidence, once they get a goal, it's a different gravy. So he's just got to find a way to get that first goal.
Yeah, I mean, halftime came and Town went off to some boos from the away end, came back out and were fantastic for 20 minutes at the start of the second half, weren't they? I'm not saying the boos did the trick. It's probably more Michael Duff's team talk and rejigging and stuff. But Town were excellent at the start of the second half. It's probably the best little spell they've had in weeks, to be honest. I think you've got to give Michael Duff some credit for that. I think he's got into them a little bit, and you give the players some credit as well. Cossy's already mentioned where Chirua goes down the left and crosses it in, and Callum Marshall gets something on it. Callum Marshall's a pest as well up there, similar sort of vein to Charles. I like Callum Marshall, and then Callum Marshall puts one on a plate for Josh Koroma, and killer! It's not a good header. It's not a good header. But a couple of minutes later though, Kane. Barnsley have a free kick. It gets played to the edge of the box. There's a funny little coming together with, I think it's Herbie Kane and Humphreys, isn't it? I think Humphreys runs into Kane actually, rather than it being a foul. But it breaks for Herbie Kane. He gives it to Sorensen. And Sorensen struggled since coming back into the team, but that is a brilliant pass. It's a phenomenal ball, isn't it? And then it's classic Koroma, isn't it? And this is such a great goal to watch. We talk about excitement, and then this is a brilliant goal because it's on the counter. It's a stunning pass from Sorensen, and then it's just perfect Koroma. His speed, he uses his body to sort of push off the defender, and as soon as he opens his body up, Koroma, it's getting whipped into the far corner, and the finish is brilliant as well. And it reminded me a little bit of Paul Dalton at Bradford in the 90s, for anybody that's old enough to remember that, when Paul Dalton went through and used to do a similar sort of thing. But it's a great goal, and it Phil. I thought, watch this back, and I've watched it a couple of times, and it's one of my I think it's probably my favourite goal this season. And then the crowd erupts behind, and everybody's all of a sudden back on the same page, and you can feel it coming. But a funny few minutes for Josh Koroma there, isn't it? He's gone from that header, and then he scored a great goal, and it's happy days.
Just sums up the life of a striker, doesn't it? To look at like Mo Salah at Liverpool, who has chance after chance and missed it, then. It's that key opportunity. As long as you can put it away, then the rest are forgotten. But I'm pleased that Sorensen played that pass, and it was so accurate because he had an absolute shocker first half. But it was a great ball, and the thing is as well, he got his body in between the defender and where he needed to go. So any strikers who want to learn how to break those lines and get across your man, that was it. And the keeper will probably never saving it really. It was just tucked into the corner. But it's trademark kind of Koroma, isn't it? You know what I mean? And again, like I said to you before, that confidence, hopefully, he might take that into the next game because, being dropped and not having that kind of chance, he wasn't doing great, but, even when you drop to the bench, you want to prove a point again, don't you? And I think that's what the fans want to see from Koroma. I think sometimes he's one of those players where you look at his body language and you don't know if he's at it or if he fancies it at certain games, but there's no guessing that he wants to play every game and he wants to do well and he wants to score goals. So I'm dead pleased for him. And it, like I say, he kicked it off. My issue was that I didn't see any of it because I was at the stand. So I made an
Phil,
no, yeah.
You've seen...
Yeah, but listen to this because, and this is not a lie, because everyone's like, "Oh, yeah, we want under the stands for the beer." I only had one beer at the game, and I literally went under the stands because Blackpool away, we scored 2 goals while I went under the stand. So I thought, well, I'm going to try it again. So honestly, it was the maddest thing. And we scored, and I was like, "It's happening again," and then boom again, and I was like, "I cannot believe this."
Do you reckon we should get Kevin Nagel to sponsor Phil to stay by the kiosks or something like that? If we get promoted this year.
I came home and I said to my dad, I says, "Remember the Premier League days?" I says, "I used to go down underneath the stands at around about 40 minutes, 38 minutes every game. And you look back at that first season, we used to score between 40 and 45 every time. And I missed loads of goals in Premier League. So it might just be a thing. I just might have to stand at the stands after that time if we're not winning."
It's such an enigma, isn't it, Koroma, though? It's like...
Isn't it?
we sat here last. Well, I sat here last week, and like when he didn't run for that ball, I was mad, and like everyone else was. And then he does that, but his celebration were weird when he just kind of stared at people. But I mean, we've gone on about the fans today, but that video where I think it was Jay that put it on, kind of retweeted it. I think it must have been a Barnsley fan there. When you see our end, it was unbelievable on it. There were absolute limbs, and it's like, and I'm thinking, like that guy said to me, starved. We're just starved. There's some excitement, like 2 goals in 2 minutes, wasn't it, or 3 minutes, and then when that other one goes in, which we'll describe in a minute, that's what we're in the game for, man. Yeah. That's why we drag ourselves up that mucky road. It was freezing cold. It was 2 degrees.
Mucky road.
It were 4,500 people, 4,502, because Pozza got his cash out eventually, and he just like that's what, you know, when we for weeks now we've talked how boring and bad it was, and yeah, it was pretty grim just about 2 minutes, but that is what you want injecting with me. Inject that into me, because it were unbelievable. And it was just with that free kick, we're covering in a minute, Matt, but I had my phone. I don't know why. I think I was filming Scott Bradley being a dick. Sorry, Scott, but I know he watches. And I thought I'll just keep it on here just for this free kick, because I just had a little feeling, you know. And then the rest is history, man. Take it away, Matt.
We love Scott Bradley, don't we? We all love Scott Bradley.
What a legend, mate.
What a guy he is.
He's asleep on train last night. His videos do it down. Because if he can put one of me at karaoke, well, we'll get him back, man.
Yeah, Scott Bradley, Danny Smith. What a pair of boys those two are. Absolute top lads. Killer, take it away, mate, because if there's a killer cream dream, it's 2 goals in 2 minutes for Ben Wiles and Josh Koroma, isn't it? I mean, Ben Wiles, I don't think played particularly well at all, really, but he can go away quite happy. I mean, he says it himself on the interview after Radio Leeds. He kind of says, "Yeah, I didn't play very well, but I've scored, so yeah," I mean, which is fair enough. But this is what Ben Wiles does, isn't it? He has these really strange games where he gets in brilliant positions. Execution is not great, sort of 60-70% of the time, but when it's good, it works. It's great, and the end product's good. However, the execution was bad this time, but it's still good. It still ended up well. So, Killer, rejoice, exalt. Any other way you want to celebrate your?
It's a hat trick for me with John. It's a hat trick with John Russell scoring as well for me. I've had a
John Russell actually fouled. It was John Russell who made the foul as well. So yeah,
it was just nice, right, to see at half time. We all know exactly what the halftime team talk was. It was just about lifting the tempo, just going at it. And as soon as it came out after halftime, the defense 5 yards, 10 yards higher. I know you can at 1-0 down. You can kind of go for it a little bit, but first time all season where we're actually counter-attacking properly. We're counter-attacking as we should, where we're just over-committing and going for it when you sense that the other team are in danger. That first goal was fantastic. It was an unbelievable goal by JK, honestly, Matt. And it wasn't the thing that got me, Sorensen slowed down as well. As soon as Kane wins the ball back on the edge, Sorensen sees Koroma's on his way. And instead of absolutely bezzing it, he holds his run waiting because he knows the angle's there. He knows if he gets the ball, he can play Koroma in first time. Perfect ball. He overhit it a touch, to be fair, but Koroma got there. But the actual best part of that goal for Koroma, the way he cuts inside O'Keefe. And now O'Keefe can take him down. He's probably getting sent off if that happens. Or a very serious booking. But he cuts in on his right-hand side. And honestly, we all knew we were in. Everyone knew we were in. As soon as Koroma cuts that back onto his right-hand side, it's in the back of the net. That's his finish. It's his trademark finish. Fantastic. And then Barnsley just looked rattled straight away from kickoff. It looked absolutely awful. But Ben Wiles, again, you've got players that aren't necessarily great 90 minutes, but in those moments, those game-winning moments, there's very few people you'd have in it over Ben Wiles for Town this season. When it matters, he seems to just produce, like you say. And it's irrelevant how he's played for the rest of the game. I do think half of the problem Ben Wiles has got with Town fans is that he looks knackered all the time because he runs more than everybody else, but he looks 2 minutes in, physically sweaty and a right mess. And he's like that from 2 minutes in till 92 minutes, but you never see a drop-off in running. You might just see a drop-off in quality of execution, like you say, Matt. But that's what you do with those free kicks. As Phil knows, as a keeper, although keeper was absolutely shocking on that one, if you're whipping it into the back post, just make sure it's on target if you can, because if it bounces all the way through like that, this is what happens. It's the ones you hate is when they've smashed those crosses in, it goes out for a dead ball 20 yards outside the back post, and no one could have ever got anywhere near it at all. Wiles has just put it right in front of the behind the defenders, in front of the goalie. But fair play, Marshall. Marshall jumped over that. He knows he couldn't get a good bit of contact on it to send it goalward. So he's I think he's left that on purpose. and it's found its way into the back of the net in probably the slowest goal I've seen since John Russell's in that first half, 34 minutes earlier. The amount of time it took to leave Wiles's foot to go into that corner was ridiculous. But
shall we time it? John Russell's run versus Ben Wiles's free kick. Shall we see which
they
was
won't,
quicker?
they won't be much in it, honestly.
Well, it was John Russell's foul, wasn't it? That on that
That's
gave us.
what I just said, cause it was John Russell.
I tell you what, I just watching it back there. Hoooooo again, mate. When he scores, it's so funny. Just everyone else is running towards like Wiles and like towards their way, but like Hoooooo just turns around to our bench and puts two arms in the air. I don't know whether it was just like he just seems a character,
He
mate.
loves it. He loves it. Doesn't he? Someone tweeted me and said, "Can you think of a worse goal you've ever seen Town score?"
Oh, Phil.
Well,
what do you think? Phil,
there must be loads.
It was shades of Gary Taylor Fletcher. Hear me out here in that playoff game, Phil. I just,
that were a bad goal, wasn't it?
But
in a good way.
It was very similar. I'm not just because it was that end, but it was just like one of those. Is it going in? Is it? Yeah, I think it's. Yeah, it's in. But obviously it were unbelievable but that GTF goal in playoff, mate, that Thursday night reminded me of that, a little bit.
The issue you got for the keeper is that you're stranded because you're waiting for any contact, and if you overcommit yourself to the back post and someone gets a touch and it drops it into near stick or down the middle of the goal, you're screwed. So it's like you mentioned earlier, you've got to put that ball across the face of the goal and make sure that it's killing into that back stick, and you can't go wrong. You miss out on height sometimes if you don't get it quite right, but yeah, it's at the end of the day, a goal's a goal, isn't it? And it's a great goal, right? It's an absolute world class goal because it put us to 2-1, so we're buzzing.
It sometimes, Phil, there's them games, isn't there, where you just think 1 makes 2. You know what I mean? It doesn't happen much with ours because what was this first comeback win? Or something? Matt will have the stats, something like that.
I don't know.
I
think we have come back and won a couple of times. I keep talking, and I'll probably be able to work it out.
Yeah, but
it's like I said though, if when you've scored that first goal and then if you get back on that front foot straight away, that team again. Do you know what I mean?
Their confidence is shot though, mate. They're having a shocking run as worse than ours.
Yeah.
So
a bit of anything. So that 1-1, like you're under pressure, and it's only another goal for you two, and obviously it happened, and it looked like two struggling teams really from the offset. So it was a team that were going to commit that little bit more, that were going to come out top, and obviously in that little spell that we had after that time, we did so.
I thought it was going to be a nailed on draw this game and probably a 0-0. So I was buzzing just to get that win scruffily and kind of take it on. But it's such a busy time. I didn't realise we've got 3 midweek games in a row, haven't we? It's absolutely nuts. And a crippling. Aren't we down to 16 players or something? Bloody hell, typical. But it was just so important to get that win. And then Wickham, see, hope that kills you again, innit? We've written off second. Wickham dropped 2. We've got to play them at home, and then Rick. No. We're done, mate. Next season, bring it on. Matt, have you found it?
Watford last season. Andre Brighton Writer's first win.
Oh yeah, Keane had it, wasn't it?
There you go.
Oh no.
Danny Ward got both.
Danny Ward won.
Beat the Ward, tuppence a bag.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Me and Killer have this conversation at the minute. Danny Ward's, I know he's done his knee, but he's probably still Town's best striker. So, as mad as that sounds, not with his knee as it is though. Right, it just kind of petered out after that goal, didn't it? I mean, Town and Barnes. Honestly, Barnsley very similar to Reading. Me and Cozzy had this discussion, didn't we, on WhatsApp, and we were saying first 20 minutes, Reading were just ripe for the plucking, so to speak, weren't they? And I thought Barnsley were as well. Then they scored, and it made it more difficult. I thought Barnsley were really poor at the start as well, and you could see they were lacking confidence, and they were there to be beaten, probably more handsomely than what they were in the end. But once they scored, they had something about them.
The place where it's at, they didn't sing a song.
Yeah, it was a strange one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to take a lot more for me to sort of proclaim that Town are back in the hunt. But I will say that I'll do a Kevin Nagel. I will say this much, and what Town have done is earlier this season there was a certain club who were very nice to kind of catapult us onto that 16-game unbeaten run when we won 2-0, and that was Barnsley. So hopefully history repeats itself and we can go on another run after beating Barnsley. Which would be very, very nice. And we would send, if that happens, Killer, we're sending a crate of beer, aren't we, to Carlo and thanking him for his service to Huddersfield Town season. We love Carlo; he's such a top guy. The Q&A. Anyone watch the Q&A? Anyone catch it?
Yeah, I watched it. It was a non-event, mate.
It wasn't. I mean, Mark Cartwright.
I thought, what do you want out of it, Matt? I honestly thought coming into it, why?
I didn't have any expectations, to be honest.
I didn't even know about it.
No, I didn't have any expectations of it.
Paul said it to me, explained it on the group, didn't he? He says the clubs have got to do one of these, aren't they? So it wasn't as if it were, right, let's get something done. They have to do it. Every club's got to do it. So it was almost like, when I heard that, I thought, I'm not expecting
online or anything like that. They don't have to broadcast it online. I think they just have to have a dialogue with a group, don't they? In which they do with the ATT, to be fair, as well. I think this was just to try and help bridge some conversation topics. I think, unfortunately, the conversation on most Town fans' lips is the job that Mark Cartwright's doing, and then Mark Cartwright skipped or couldn't attend. I can't remember why it was in the end. I think there might have been an illness or something involved. But he didn't attend.
Funeral or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think someone said he was ill or he had to stay back. I can't remember, but he couldn't attend anyway, and that kind of fueled the flames a little bit because I think a lot of Town fans basically just wanted to have a go at Mark Cartwright via the questions. They were never going to get asked, were they? Come on, be realistic. If you send because I was privy to one or two questions in conversation that didn't make the cut, and there's people sending questions in going, sort of along the lines, I'm paraphrasing, but if you're sending a question in going, do the owners realise Mark Cartwright is a knobhead kind of thing, it's not going to get asked, is it? Why would you think that would get asked or why it's appropriate? Come on. I mean, you might feel better about yourself, but I mean, that's not going to get asked, is it? And it's not appropriate for the thing. Oh, dear. I mean, if we do a Q&A, I think the first
Kill ask them all every time at ATT every month
as well. Yeah.
What a question!
Waiting for an answer.
That didn't start the rumours. Didn't stop the rumours starting that Mark Cartwright's on his way out, etc. Mark Cartwright's not leaving the club, is he?
The Duff thing seemed to wind people up, Matt. That we were on there for 10 minutes, but I didn't have an issue with it, mate.
He wasn't supposed to be there though, and he had an engagement. So that, to be fair, Michael Duff's jumped in when he shouldn't be.
He says in his press conference what he was saying in there. I didn't learn all really.
No, not really.
We knew that.
No, but Mark Cartwright. I mean, Chris Markham's just become available at Bolton, or he's just leaving Bolton, and he's someone I've wanted back at Huddersfield for a long time because I think he's brilliant, Chris. I'm biased because he's been on the podcast in the early days, and we've had a chance to chat to him, and so we know we hear him talk about football and how a lot of stuff, and he's very, very good, in the way he sets things out. Very sort of his methodologies are very good, and he's just very switched on when it comes to football. And he talks a great game, and his results at Bolton are far better than any Luddite in the comments of the Bolton Evening News would ever give him credit for. His record there is really good. Turned down a big European club to stay at Bolton as well, by the way.
Wrexham.
Not Wrexham, no, Disney for Chris. But I mean, anyway, we're going by the by. Some of the things that were asked were, Killer, we've talked about the four strikers, sort of signing the same four strikers kind of over and over. We think Healy, Marshall, Charles, Taylor, they're all kind of the similar style of striker, aren't they? And that got asked, Dave asked that, to be fair. He said, I mean, giving Dave stick as well for asking the questions was ridiculous as well on Twitter, because he's gone there to host something and been provided a script. You know what I mean? Follow the script. Don't have a go at Dave for doing a job. You know what I mean? He's gone there and done it well. But moving on slightly, he asked about the four strikers, and basically Michael Duff just said, I think we're just trying to get the best value for what's out there and the best players out there. We're in League One, so we're not going to go sign a Didier Drogba type player. He was obsessed with Didier Drogba. It was pretty upset. I mean, everyone had loved Didier Drogba now at like 45 years old, never mind in his prime. But he went on and said, you can go and sign basketball players if you want because they'll be tall. It's not a case. They've gone and signed 2 5'9" centre forwards, and he said everyone would want someone who's 6'4" and hold it up and can run behind, but realistically, there's not many of them around, and they'd have probably gone and got one if there was. I mean, he's probably right, and I quite like the one at Peterborough, but he's not scored a lot of goals. Ricky J. Jones, but he's quite good, but. he's getting linked with Sheffield United despite not scoring a lot of goals. So it shows you how hard it is to sort of sign those players. So he's quite right. The new shop going in the rope walk, we've mentioned it before. I think that's quite exciting, and there's going to be memorabilia in there and stuff, so you can have a walk around and you can see some of the old stuff. I love stuff like that. And I mean, from a business point of view, if you went in there and you wanted to listen to the kind of business, I thought it was sorry, because I'm just muting you because there's feedback again. I thought it was really useful when you listen to Jake Edwards and Paul Reeves. I thought in terms of the business side of things, talking about what is it, Kill? Is it PSR? I can't remember what they keep changing the mnemonics of it, don't they? That stuff was quite interesting. The profit and sustainability rules is PSR, isn't it? That was quite interesting. I thought the shop and talking about the memorabilia going in with the rope walk was quite interesting. I know we've mentioned it before, but I think that's going to be really cool. Phil's done one. And they've recently employed a new marketing and communication director as well. He's been at Man City, worked in rugby league. And there's quite a lot of interesting stuff in terms of the business, but in terms of on the pitch stuff, I think that's what people wanted answers to, didn't they? And there was no one really there to give that because Mark Cartwright didn't turn up and Michael Duff could only be there for 5-10 minutes. And credit to Michael Duff because he wasn't supposed to be there. He had something to do, didn't he? And he kind of came and gave 10 minutes. And it was really funny that when I thought what was really funny was Michael Duff kind of, he said, "Oh, you can go if you want, Michael." It was like shoom shoom, and it was off, wasn't it? Like Superman in the telephone box kind of thing. But for me, it was fine. The Q&A, under a club when it's controlled by the club like that, you're never going to get answers to some of the questions that I think people wanted to ask, like what does Kevin Nagel really think of Mark Cartwright in this and that? You're not going to get answers to that. It's just not realistic, and it's not realistically going to happen. You're going to have to play him with 5 or 6 pints and have him have your arm around him, in the old Magic Rock or whatever, or in H-Town, aren't you, for him to sort of even give you half an idea. So it's not. But I thought for what it was fine, Killer. There are things that are interesting, and the things that people won't find interesting. I think that's fine.
It was like an online ATT meeting. These are the things that obviously we go to with the HSA 4 times a year. I think we go at. And just so, again, if anybody wants to kind of go to one of these meetings, you can get that opportunity within reason. If you go through the HSA, join the HSA. You can join the board if you want to be committed that way, and we get access to it. And if I can go, anyone can go, because obviously I've been in podcasts before where I imagine I've said things that people aren't entirely happy with, but Poz has been as well, and we all know how Poz's relationship with the club has been at certain points of his recent life.
It's the poster child. It goes from like poster child to like wanted man number one. Does Poz it seamlessly slips in and out, doesn't it? He's even on they brought back the classic red and black goaler strip, haven't they? And Poz is on the video for that as well. He's on every bit of marketing that the club do. And then when he chimes up online, they all think he's a knob.
he's had more real turns than the Rock has, honestly. He's in and then he's out, and then he's in and then he's out. But no, it's good. It's important to know. The thing is, when Town were losing, and obviously when they announced this was going to happen, we were in a good space. We'd been winning loads of games, and then when it came to the night, we'd been awful. So of course the questions were going to be pretty awful. I imagine they were pretty controlled in what was asked. So I still can't really see why Cartwright wouldn't have been there if he could have been there, because obviously you just control the questions that you're going to be asked. You don't put in the ones that are. No, exactly. But the only thing that I do think is important, Matt, and like you said there, Duff said everyone's looking for the Drogba kind of striker, right? And then yesterday after the game, he said in the first half we're smashing it long and we don't have 6'6" strikers. And to me, that made me realise that Duff does kind of want one of those guys. Everybody wants one of those guys. It just didn't work for us in this transfer window because they are hard to get. We bought Bojan in. He's a bigger guy that we hoped, I imagine, could hold the ball up a little bit better than what we finally got out of him before we shipped him off. But that was the only part of note I thought that was relevant footballing wise. But that's all you're going to get from these meetings. When we go to the ATT, we don't get that. But it's nice to know there's so much stuff going on behind the scenes. It's just unfortunate, I think, for everybody. Well, for Town mainly, that we'd lost a few games going into it, because it changes the conversation that where all those idiots are having online before it happened. So they had a very tough card to handle there, and I thought Patrick dealt with it really well, because he was on a bit of a hospital pass, I think, at one point there. But I thought it was good for what it was, and then we won on Saturday, so now everything's much better.
Exactly. And the season cards are going up, so I think that's one thing that Pozza is the world's tightest man, Phil. He does not like putting his hand in his pocket.
He's off to Shrewsbury on Tuesday. I'll defend the great man.
He must have got some freebies or something because,
Going up
or he's hitchhiking or something. But his season cards are going up, so he's sulking obviously about that. But to be fair, like me, he does have to buy 3.
I think the season cards, Matt, is like when you go to the Premier Grounds, you'll have like the middle bit will be priced a bit more, the wings will be cheaper. Where kind of lower down you get, I think it's more like just one stand is this price. Where I think it feels like between lines, I could be talking out of turn here that's where we're going to go. So
I don't like the zoning they call it. Don't I don't really. I mean, I think if you say it's more expensive in the Riverside upper than it's going to be in the lower because the view's better, then I get that. Whereas if you price everything more in the centre and then less wide, how are you going to police people just buying tickets for the wings, like Cosy said, and then just going and sitting in the middle? It doesn't really, in the empty seats, because then you have to police that, don't you? And then that's going to get messy. So I think it's too much. I honestly think that's too much trouble. I do get the zoning thing.
I do that when I go abroad.
Somewhere where it would be more expensive. Because it's a shit house. Phil keeps.
I do that at Schalke, mate. You'll get a ticket in someone's zone, and then you'll go in. You'll wait till kick off, and then you'll see an empty seat. Anyone sat there in German, and
my missus does that when you go to the cinema. My missus, when we go to the cinema, she's like looking around at all the premium seats behind with the comfy stuff on and stuff, and then as soon as it starts, she's off. She's off like a little ferret, in and out, and then up to the premium seats.
Yeah,
I just sit where you sit, man.
Because you can walk on front, can't you? And the exit, they've got no chance doing that. But let's see. Yeah,
it's not. I mean, I get it. I think season cards have to go up because basically Town need to churn more money. I think they just have to be very careful of making it a big jump.
Only £2. I want them to go up.
Yeah, I mean they've got to make it a little bit cheaper. A little bit more expensive, but you can't just go from say 300 quid to 600 quid. You can't just double it. That's not. The people are just going to say, "Nah, piss off," because we're in League One. The football's not great, and the prices will be announced before we know which division we're in, etc. So you have to be careful. And I think if you've got a plan to make them more expensive, I think you kind of have to bridge it to get there, maybe over a couple of years, rather than just whack it in and see what sticks.
I think it might have been positive. Put something on our group a bit ago. Wasn't it? Must have been 10 seasons ago now, or something like that. Where if we go up with this price, and then if we don't go up with that price and stuff, but they're going to come out well before the end. So I wonder if they'll go down that route. There's a lot of things.
Could be. And
analysed it, doesn't it? From what he was saying on Monday night. Yeah.
So the season cards are going up. So be prepared for that. What else have we got? The B team. Oh, the B team lost 7-0 at Sunderland. That was hard. That was on Sunderland's YouTube channel. I watched some of that, and that was hard work. Was that? Chalk that one down and move on. I think that was. But in nicer stuff, Cosy, Town women won 9-0 today, so that was really good. So they're looking quite good in the cup.
I went there on Thursday night. Beth Stanfield, who is sponsored by. I need to check that chance, and we get our little logo put on when there's scores. I scored an absolute worldie, but today they were playing. It's like a county cup game, and they were like,
was it Handsworth or something?
Yeah,
that's in that a prison.
Lot lower down.
That's Wandsworth. That's Wandsworth.
Yeah. So obviously nice to have a win. But the Barnsley one, it's ironic. I've seen 2-1 wins for Town, both from behind as well. So perfect results. But yeah, Thursday night were absolutely arctic, Matt. Barnsley keeper injured and had to come off. 10-minute delay for the game, and one of those nights where minus when you just think, come on, just get up and that as well. But yeah, I mean, whether it's a bit too little, too late for promotion push, I don't know, mate. But they played well, and it's obviously won today as well. So there's not many games left, to be honest, mate. So, but yeah, if I'm being honest, it's probably going to take a bit of an Herculean effort to get out of the division. I think there's only one up, But
some good teams as well. There's like Leeds, Middlesbrough. There's a few decent teams down there. Durham. So it's going to be a real dogfight.
Again, though, Matt, I sort of bang on about it, but I really like. I'm on a love with my Barnsley. I think maybe I should get a season card there, but their academy set up and setups there is, I'm a bit jealous of it, mate, because purely from like they've got this beautiful big stand where you can watch it. Where there's like we weren't playing in that pitch on Thursday, but I think it holds probably about 1,000, maybe, and that as well. And I think they'll play some of their games on there. And then, to be fair, they're a nice little stand and a nice field as well. They've got some training pitches right behind their stand, and I just thought that's what. And kind of coming in, they had a turnstile, and it were all like kind of they've got like they're off. Whereas the portcoming stairs were kind of nicely built in and stuff, and I just thought I always want that's how it meant to end up with us when the Premier League. I know it's been done to death.
Yeah, it got watered down, didn't it? We were supposed to have a stand, weren't we, in one of the I can't remember where it was going to go. I think it's where the new 4G pitch was, isn't it? As you go down to the right, I think there was going to be a stand on it, but that would have been really cool if we'd have got that, because it'd have been like a mini Man City kind of thing, wouldn't it?
Perfect, mate.
But unfortunately, it is what it is. Do you know what I think we should do?
I just missed that. Talk about the two academies, like differences.
Just Barnsley. Have you been there, Phil? Well, I went there on Thursday night. Watch.
Has Phil been there?
Well,
Phil's there every week.
Well, just to give you a bit of context, so obviously Huddersfield have just started theirs up now, and the feedback I'm getting from that, from parents, from etc., is outstanding. So what they're doing there, how they're looking after the kids, just a general setup, the coaching that the kids have been given, compared to what the kids get at Barnsley. Barnsley is unique, and it's not the same everywhere else. So they've got that, and they're very lucky that they've got it. But the setup at Barnsley is nowhere near as good as what it is at Huddersfield. Nowhere near. The Barnsley used to, it was a conveyor belt of good young kids coming through. I don't think they're going to be getting that anymore. And I think what Worthy's doing, I don't know he's a mate, but listen, these aren't my words. From what I've heard, from what they're doing, and the positive phone calls I get from parents from different clubs, it is really encouraging, to be fair. So they're doing something right, and obviously they've spent quite a bit of money though. So they've got but they've got rooms for parents and stuff, and in comfortable areas, and you've got people greeting people and showing them in certain areas. But like, it sounds like they're doing a really good job. And I know it's probably not what everyone expected, but it's definitely a step in the right direction, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Let's move on, shall we? And I think, Killer, this is going to be a debut for Mr. Senior, isn't it? But Cozzy, I know, absolutely loves this, don't you, Cozzy?
Can I go now? Is it tactic board?
No, what is this? Bloody hell, it's
Let's
like Evans local football.
Here we go, Phil. We're on the tactics board. Here we go. Look, so this is what we do now, Phil. We get all into it. Cozzy's muted himself. He's gone. Avante, gegen the house. Off he goes. But yeah, this is what we look. So Huddersfield Town versus Shrewsbury is going down on Tuesday night. This is such a huge game for Huddersfield because this will basically confirm whether we're just pretending or whether we're back in the picture fully. Town need to win this game. There's no sort of two ways about that. As it stands at the minute, Town are back in fifth in the League One race, but Wickham dropped 2 points at the weekend, so Town managed to claw a little bit back on Wickham. But they're currently on 60 points, having played the same amount again. So they're 8 points ahead of us. So Town really need to sort of claw anything back on both Wickham and Wrexham. Wrexham keep winning as well. They keep the goals they score are just dirty, Wrexham. They just hoof the ball into the sky and it comes down with snow on it. And some bloke in his late 30s manages to tow it in off his ass or something. Well, you can't tow it off your ass, but he just managed to. Well, good trick, isn't it? But they just managed to rag some goals like that. But fair play. But yes, so let's have a look at how we think this game will go. Killer, Phil, we've got Town here in the blue. So Town have changed now. They've come away from the 3-5-2 and go for the 4-3-3, and I think it's going to be interesting because Lee Nichols will start in goal. I don't think that's going to be debatable. I think there's going to be a couple of issues. Brodie Spencer is suspended now. He picked up... Honestly, that yellow card was bollocks. The guy sort of threw himself in front of Brodie Spencer and he got booked. And he's going to miss 2 games now for what is essentially not even a free kick. It absolutely made me rage watching it. But you have to deal with your rage issues, Matthew. But left back will be Josh Ruffles, I think, who'll come into the side. I think Ruskin's a couple of weeks away still. So Ruffles, who came on at the weekend, did a solid enough job. And I think if you're playing a back four, I think he's fairly solid, isn't he, Josh Ruffles, as a left back? So that should be okay. Centre backs, this is a real test for Radinho Balca, isn't it? Because he's I think the last game was his first 90 minutes for 11 months. So this against Barnsley was his second 90 minutes for 11 months. Can he do Saturday, Tuesday? Matty Pearson's out for 6 weeks. Town have got short in or a shortness of numbers here because Hellick's gone, not been replaced. Pearson's injured. Loic Aina, Cozzy's absolute favourite, has left for Riga. So Town are a little low in numbers. And if Brodie Spencer's out suspended for 2 games, Josh Ruffles can't play centre-back as he may in a 3. Ollie Turton's still around, though. So we've got him as a potential option. But I think it'll be Sorensen still at right-back. Again, he's on managed minutes as well. So that's going to be interesting to see how he does. Balca is going to be interesting to see if he can make it through the game. Tom Lees with his mask, the Phantom, is going to probably be there as well. So I think Josh Ruffles will be in at left back. Midfield, again, we saw Kasumu limp off, didn't we? That was, I think, a bit heart-wrenching, really, when you saw Kasumu injured and limping off and be replaced by Hoggy. Hoggy did nothing wrong, by the way, but Kasumu's energy is so important to the way we play. So I think Hoggy will start again on Tuesday night with Kasumu missing. Even if Kasumu's fit, I think he'll be missing. Herbie Kane probably will partner him. And there's an issue there with a lack of pace isn't the killer in that midfield. And I think that's really been part of an issue when those two have played together, that we just can't get the ball quick or get to the ball quick enough in those areas. Ben Wiles will probably play as your number 10 because Evans is still injured with his toe issue. Right wing will probably be Callum Marshall as usual. Up front, Dion Charles will probably start again despite not doing well. And that's because Chirua, we're going to call him Chirua from now on, went off injured. We haven't obviously listened to the press conference yet, but I would suspect that Josh Karoma will come in regardless of whether Chirua is fit or not. So I think that's the way Town will line up, Killer. How about you?
Yeah, I think so. I think Karoma over Chirua every day of the week. Ruffles is the only real option at left back. I do feel like Kasumu will get the start if he can, Matt. I don't think. I don't think with the way Town are at the moment is in that we've lost too many games or we've failed to win too many games. We need to win everything we can. And now Shrewsbury are the 22nd in the league, the 15th in form. They've not been great over the last 10 games, but then you actually look who they've lost against. And they've lost against Bolton, Stockport, Charlton, Orient. They've only lost against really good teams.
Close
They've
as well,
drawn
yeah.
against, Reading, Blackpool, Northampton draw. That's probably a little bit soft on paper considering they were at home. But they've beaten Mansfield, Rotherham, and they've beaten Wrexham. They've had some tough fixtures. This isn't a Shrewsbury team that are poor. This is a team that is actually much better than what the league shows because they've just had a hard run of fixtures recently. So for me, I don't think we've got the luxury of trying to aim at games. I don't think we had that luxury, but we've thrown it away by being so poor for so long. And we'll just have to. For me, I think Kasumu's key. Well, there's the stat going on online that when Kasumu plays, is it 93% of the time we win? There's something ridiculous when he starts. It's obscene that how much better we are when Kasumu starts or plays more than 45 minutes. So I understand if he's not in because he's not up to it. But if there's any potential that he can do, I would be doing. I just think, Matt, if we ever swap back to him back 3 in the next few games with Spencer out and stuff, Johnny Hogg might be one of the guys to fall in at centre back. You know, he said we don't have anybody else that can do that.
He's all right there.
Maybe that's one of the options as well. If Balca can't hack it, I wouldn't like to see it. And it's ridiculous to say we've got a huge squad and we might have to resort to playing Hoggy there at some point. I don't think that's Tuesday. I think we'll go with the team that you've laid out. It's just that Kasumu Hogg question for me.
And I mean, Turton can come on and do some minutes, can't he, as well? But again, you're more happy with him in a 3 rather than a 2 at you in the middle. Shrewsbury, how will they line up? Cozzy's ears might prick up here because there's an ex-Town goalkeeper in goal for Shrewsbury, and that's Jamal Blackman, who only played a handful of games for us in the 21-22 season. Is it Max Benning? Or am I thinking of Max Branning? It's Mal Benning, isn't it? Not Max Branning. He plays left back for Shrewsbury. They've got a couple of centre backs of Shrewsbury who have the same name, both named Feeney. So they've got Morgan Feeney, who's been playing centre back, and they've also got Josh Feeney at centre back. I'm not entirely sure that they're related, but that would be pretty cool, wouldn't it? If they're both brothers playing centre back together. They will play together. I was trying to think of the other centre back they had. Is it Enciala? Hooooo plays right back, but again, they're playing this diamond midfield, so you can see what they're trying to do, Killer, can't you, with Shrewsbury? They're trying to congest the middle areas. So they have Ojo, who just sits in front of the back four, and he'll drop in, and he'll just try and clog things up in there and look after people like Ben Wiles. And then you've got the two midfielders, Gilead, who's an ex-Bradford player, because his ears might prick up again there. He plays right midfield, but he can play wide as well, so he can provide width if needed. And then they've got the wonderfully named Dominic Gape, who plays in the sort of left central midfield. And then behind the front two, they've got Taylor Perry. Not Tyler Perry, but Taylor Perry. And then up front, John Marquis, who I am full of praise for with John Marquis, because he scored against Wrexham, didn't he? And really did some damage against them. And they've been playing Verdane Oliver, who's a bit of a unit as well up there. So they can cause a lot of problems, can Shrewsbury. They've got a couple of players off the bench as well that can cause Jordan Shipley, cause issues. George Nurse, who's not too bad actually. So they've got a little bit going for them. Gareth Ainsworth has got them sort of toughing it out. So it's going to be a really claggy, awful game again, Killer, is this one, where it's just not going to be a spectacle, and it's going to take moments of quality to put them away. And you're looking at Josh Koroma. You really need this to be the start of a streak, don't you, for Josh Koroma, rather than it sort of just been a flash in the pan. And this is where we need him to have that sort of 6, 7, 8 game spell where he's just absolutely unplayable, and then we'll be waving this bad boy all around, won't we, Killer? The conch. It'll be all over. It'll be all over social media and everything. You got a score prediction, boys, all of you. What are you fancying? Killer, go with you first.
Oh, it comes down to width in this one. If they play a diamond midfield, their midfield has to constantly adjust left and right. If you can get your fullbacks and wingers both heading forward and high as much as you can, not having Miller in this one is a really big miss. Not having Spencer even at left back, because he kind of can get there, is a bit of a big miss. But they're a tough team. It's going to be another dour game, I reckon, Matt. I think they'll be happy enough just making it tough for us. Ainsworth is a very, very, very clever manager. They'll have a game plan to stop us playing, and it's up to us to find a way to win. And I think we will, Matt, again. This is me, and I questioned our abilities to get playoffs at one point, and I got back there a couple of weeks ago, and now I'm backing us, because I backed us to beat Barnsley, Matt, if you remember. I'm backing us to win again. 2-0 this time. 2-0 Town, but I can't go JK and Wilesy twice in a week, can I? So
you can, and you want to, don't you?
I do want to, but Marshall will bag a goal, and I think Herbie Kane will as well. I'll go 2-0 Town.
Cozzy Bear.
Nil will mate. Positive on a club tweet or Instagram post or Facebook at the end with his red and black hat on. That's my prediction.
Phil, you keep struggling with your phone memory, don't you? What do you make to the game on Tuesday? How do you think this will play out, and what's your gut feeling for a score?
I mean, we talk about having 3 at the top, but we're very narrow as well, so it's going to be an really interesting game. Sorensen might come into his own a little bit if he has a little bit of space in front. But I think it'll be a 0-1 Ladapo.
Ladapo, that would be great, wouldn't it?
Minute header from Sorensen.
I'm getting excited.
That would be great. I'm going draw in this. I'm going 1-1. I think Town aren't quite out of the woods yet in terms of things. I know. I think it'll be a draw.
Yeah, I
think it'll be a draw, and I think it's just gonna be a really awkward, cloggy. I think the injuries again. It's just the injuries with us. It's the same. If our injuries hadn't been anywhere near this, I think we'd be cruising this season. But they are what they are. And again, if Kasumu's not fit, then midfield is going to get really cloggy, really bogged down. It's going to be difficult in there, and especially with the guy behind the front two who picks him up, and Herbie Kane and Hoggy, aren't the quickest for the second balls. Joe Hodge is an option, but again, not the kind of one that you want in that kind of game. Yeah, not the kind of player you want in that game. He's a nice little footballer, isn't he? Not one of those battle-hardened warriors that you need.
Can we get some from Wolves in on loan for match?
Yeah, can you imagine? But yeah, I'm going to go 1-1. I'm going to go with Karoma to score again, and hopefully it's going to be the start of something for him. That's it, boys. Have we got any other business? Cozzy, I don't know if you want to talk about how wonderful Barnsley town centre is. You've been full of praise for it, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm waiting for honorary. What do they call it?
You're going to be the town crier of Barnsley at this rate. You're going to have like the whole gold chain and everything, ringing your bell, Cosimodo with your bell.
It just turned into Andy Kirkley's rant. But you know what? Barnsley's like much slagged off, much maligned, but I was charmed by it. It's just like they've spent. But to be fair, the Barnsley fans who were piping up on my post said they've spent a hell of a lot of money on it. So there's obviously cash is king, isn't it? But I think there's supposed to be like Huddersfield. There's stuff scattered about. I know there's a few kind of bars obviously around, kind of Kickgate at the bottom, but. Mate, it was fantastic. It was absolutely brilliant. And that bridge is a big thing, really, because like you come down from like a football ground and people get scattered about, but you're over there. There's a beautiful little place where there's a market and a place called Glasshouse. I think it's been up for a few years, to be fair, but you can get something to eat. Honestly, it's just like you go to places like they just.
Do you remember Glasshouse in Leeds? Do you remember that?
I think I do.
Oh, mate, it was a den of debauchery. That wasn't it. That was where you went after the nightclubs had closed. Was Glasshouse, and everyone was smacked off their knockers in there. It was honestly, it was horrible, absolutely horrible. You go in and everyone was like zombies. It was bad.
It was good. Obviously, we're there on Thursday for like the women's game, but we had a nice feed in the town centre. But it's just where everyone's kind of like knocking places like Barnsley, Huddersfield, Blackburn, or Burnley's kind of inserting
nice town Barnsley. I like it.
It's just respect, mate, for the area, and it just felt. I'm not just saying it because we won, because I just said it if we lost, but like Phil, you had a good time as well, and they've always been friendly for the people. But we didn't want to come away. We were laughing like in Scott said we need to get a season card. He says next home game on Peterborough on Saturday, we ought to stop at Barnsley, get train back to Huddersfield. But yeah. But no, and the best thing about it, a lot of other town fans have been piping up on my thread saying exactly the same and that as well. Yeah. So. And the prices were good and stuff, but it was just a good away day. Yeah, quite a few home-only fans and for home-only pubs, but we were lucky because we had Scots mum with us, so they thought we were Barnsley. But there's such a big difference between a Barnsley accent and Huddersfield one, though, isn't there? So we were in one pub and they were saying, we've got that Huddersfield town passes or whatever playing. We were laughing and then, I want to get one over that duff. And I was saying, it's... I says, we haven't so far this season. We were like trying to I was just thinking, please serve me. I'm going to get out of here. And I had no colours on and stuff. And then I says, Huddersfield have sold their end though. I says, we haven't though, have we? I'm like, no. It's like Pinocchio, like Phil Thompson at Bath. Those were huge. But, Phil Thompson. But no, just all in all, a really nice day. And again, I think, we've run about Sky knackering games and stuff. You put that at 12, you don't have half of that experience, mate. So to me, 3:00 Saturday, keep them there.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's all we've got time for this week. And Cozzy obviously needs to get off this podcast and fire up Rightmove. He's looking at the prices on Rightmove for Barnsley. Thanks everyone for joining this week, and we'll be back with the drive-in during the week before reviewing the Peterborough game at the weekend. So thanks everyone, and we'll catch you next time.
There's a team that is dear to its followers. The colours are bright blue and white. They're a team of renown, and they're the pride of the town. And the game of football is their delight. And And all the while upon the field of play, thousands loudly cheer them on the way. Often you can hear them say, who can beat the town today? And then the bells will ring so merrily, and every goal shall be a memory. So town, play up and bring that cup back to Huddersfield. So town, play up and bring the cup back to Huddersfield.